Obviously, Zoho has the case management and the customer service component as well. So they will be able to integrate all of those. But again, the integration is not going to be as seamless because again, these products have different databases, different customer model, etc.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we generally meet on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Today we are meeting on Wednesday at 2 p.m. So we move things around at times, but for the most part, this is supposed to be the Tuesday's show. As part of this show, we cover any of the vendor or the solutions that we review independently. So for today, we have a solution called Zoho HCM. And obviously, they are super popular, at least in the SMB community. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my quick intro. Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, Andy, do you want to go next?
I would be happy to. And as always, Sam, thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software for manufacturing companies all my life. I've worked with manufacturers all over North America, and I have a published book that helps companies uncover the truth about ERP software before they buy.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. Always a pleasure to have you. Strasta, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Hi, everybody. My name is Shrestha Das, and I'm part of the marketing team at Elevate IQ. And I'm super excited to be here today.
Okay, amazing, guys. Once again, thank you so much for being here. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We generally try to refer them during the show. If you have any sort of stories that you can relate with, we would love to see them. We would love to review them during the show itself. So on that note, I am going to start with the quick briefing of the solution. So Andy and Strasta, I don't know how many you have done in the HCM category. And this is the HCM
Quite
category.
a few now, eh?
Yeah, so we have done at least 6 or 7, I would say.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And they are probably going to be part of our top 10 list as well, right, Strasta? I mean, so we are probably going in sequence.
Yeah.
So this is a very interesting solution as well. So far we have done SAP S/4HANA, Oracle HCM, Info WFM, if I remember correctly, then Ceridian, Workday we had done long back, UKG Pro. So those are some of the options that we have done. This is pure play SMB market. I think ADP Vantage as well I missed. We have done that as well. So this is pure play SMB market, and I think we have been discussing this over the period of time during many different shows that we have done for the ACM market, that the bucket that we have for the ACM market are slightly different. In this particular case, the buckets are going to be under 50 employees, 50 to 1,000 employees, and 1,000 and above is going to be your enterprise bucket. So for the most part, Zoho HCM is one of the most dominant solution, I would say, in the smaller segment. Obviously, the size of the solution is slightly bigger because of the amount of features that they can bundle together as part of the solution, and the cost that they have. It's really pennies. That's how much they charge for licensing. It's that affordable. So obviously it's a huge plus. I mean, they have, indisputable position in the market, and the solution is fairly cloud native. Obviously, the approach that they have taken is slightly different overall from the solution perspective. Some people argue that Zoho is probably an ERP right now. They are not necessarily an ERP. It's the collection of apps. That's how I would define it for the most part. So the difference between ERP and collection of apps is going to be that These are all very independent, siloed apps. They are going to have their own code base. Yes, the code base is going to be shared, but your database is going to be completely siloed, meaning you are dealing with many different databases. Even though the look and feel, the solution, and the way your UI is going to look is going to be very similar, from the UI perspective, you can never gauge what is a real ERP and what is not a real ERP. If you do simply functional comparison, with that, it's very, very, very hard. You require much deeper technical expertise to be able to understand what is a real ERP and what is not a real ERP.
Well, Sam, I'll tell you that you're bringing up a whole debate that could be a whole meeting and a discussion in itself. Is how do you define what an ERP is? I mean, back in the old days, there used to be things called MRP systems, and then there was something called MRP2 systems, and then they evolved it into calling an ERP system.
Yeah.
And everybody, it's marketing.
Yeah.
That's basically the bottom line.
Yeah, so I'll give you the easiest definition for an ERP. That is going to be all of your departments in one database. That's the right definition of an ERP. In some cases, it makes sense. In other cases, it might not make sense.
Or most, maybe not all, but most.
So if you are talking about the real ERP, meaning ERP has a role to play in the enterprise, and the reason why you install an ERP is for a reason. Just because you install an app, that is not an ERP. The whole purpose of ERP is to bring together all of your departments on one data model, one database, so that you are going to have end-to-end connectivity as well as traceability. That's the foundational premise of your ERP, and that's a slightly more financial premise. Okay, because
99%, I agree with you, Sam. The fact that we're talking about HCM solutions today, which blends itself to payroll, which blends itself to, in Canada, Canadian payroll,
yes,
very commonly they're third-party bolt-ons.
Exactly. And this is not necessarily in my mind, and in the way we define ERP category, we don't consider HCM solution as part of the ERP bucket, to be completely honest.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They need to be completely siloed app. And that's why we are calling this as a category, that HCM is a category, CRM is a category, field service is a category. These are many different categories, the way these software are designed. So some people might refer HCM as ERP, but HCM is not necessarily an ERP. You are going to have many different functions from the HR HCM perspective. This is meant to be slightly more best of breed category, best of breed apps that need to be reside inside one database from the HR and HCM workflow perspective. But as such, this is not the real ERP. And that's why Zoho does really well. If you look at in the CRM category, HCM category, siloed accounting category, but again, they are not necessarily a real ERP. So
agreed, 100%. Yeah,
I think we have 100% agreement here, Andy.
I think we do. I just wanted to make sure people understood that there always is a best of breed, even with a definition of true ERP. There's always going to be some kind of best of breed on the outside attached in, depending upon the company's specific requirements.
Yes. All right, so moving right along here. So in this particular case, again, these are collection of apps. The right comparison here is probably going to be Odoo. They have very similar distribution model. They have very similar architecture. But Odoo's data model is slightly more connected. With Zoho, the data model is not connected at all, meaning your customer masters are going to be completely different across different apps, across different geographies. So you are dealing with very, very, very siloed and independent databases inside this whole humongous Zoho ecosystem. So again, your customers are not going to be connected. Your items are not going to be connected. Yeah, sure, you can build a bunch of workflows between apps. You can do a little bit of automation, integration, whatever you are going to call that. But as such, you don't really have that end-to-end connectivity and traceability, what you are going to find inside an ERP. But again, you don't need that for ACM category. That's why they are super dominant in the ACM and CRM category. So some background. They really started, as the ACM solution. I mean, they have very large market share. After that, I think they acquired a lot of market share in the CRM space as well. So ACM and CRM, those two are their go-to solution that a lot of companies use. Now, HCM functionality is so thick and so deep, as well as CRM, that a lot of mid-market and enterprise companies are able to use this. So it's a big deal overall from the functionality perspective. But again, if you're looking for that best of breed experience, that's where your Zoho is probably going to be a better fit. Generally, they are going to sit on top of the other systems such as your ERP. They have a lot of apps in their suite as well, but again, you are not going to get that ERP experience in this. So overall, from the competition perspective, any of the HCM solutions are probably going to be the right competitive buckets. That is going to be your Oracle HCM, SAP SuccessFactors. Infor WFM is probably the right category as well, but for the most part, Infor WFM is positioned for retail, healthcare, etc. Zoho does really well in slightly more professional services spaces, IT, marketing. It's a very service-centric, solution in general. They have some market share in the retail e-commerce space as well, but that's not the intent. That's not their core target market.
And it's targeted, Infor WFM is targeted larger organizations too, right?
That is supposed to be the large solution. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So overall, in terms of the size, I would say these guys' competition is probably going to be Bamboo. HR is probably the right comparison. Fairly affordable, I would say. Overall from the cost perspective, the implementation is going to be probably $5,000, $10,000. So you are probably going to get the similar, implementation from Zoho as well. Maybe 20, but not more than that. So it's fairly affordable solution in general. Ceridian is probably not going to be the right comparison, as Andy suggested, because Ceridian is a very large solution. Workday is supposed to be for enterprise as well. UKG Pro is a slightly more mid-market solution. So that's where the differences are overall in terms of the size. The industries I have touched just a little bit. So these guys do really well in the IT marketing. Staffing agencies, they have a very unique business model. They are going to be really deep into the whole recruiting workflow, and their recruiting workflows are very customizable in general, the way it works. They are going to be far thicker. Even if you compare the recruiting processes of, I don't know, even if you compare this with an IT company or manufacturing company, the staffing companies are going to be very different. Their workflows are extremely different. They require very highly customizable HCM as well as recruiting solution. So some of these solutions on this list, they might be able to do some recruiting, but again, they might not be as great fit for the recruiting staffing companies. And that's where Zoho is very handy, because it is the way data model, the object model is, it's highly customizable. Even if you compare this with some of the other SaaS solutions, they are not as customizable, even if they claim so.
And Zoho is relatively easy to learn as well.
Easy is a very subjective term.
Of course.
Yeah, for the most part, their data model, I would say, is fairly comparable to Salesforce. So that's why you have, to be completely honest, overall from the marketing, targeting, distribution strategy, the way they approach, they were really Salesforce copycat in general. Okay, we really pay attention to how.
I would have thought Salesforce was much larger.
Zoho is fairly large as well. They might not have as much revenue right now, but overall, in terms of the number of logos that they have, it's a fairly large company now. Obviously, they are based in India, and their talent base is very rural, so that's why their costing model is very affordable. Their data centers are in India in very rural regions as well. That's why they are able to sell the licenses for $1. But they have done a commendable job. If you look at the code quality and the product quality, it's different. It's very well done overall. Okay, so it's very comparable to any other SaaS products that we have in the market. So overall, from the industry perspective, education is going to be another one which requires substantial customization. Going back to my comment related to copycat, Andy, and I don't know whether you followed Zoho's strategies or the ads. Even today, whatever Salesforce does, Zoho simply repeats that. Okay, it's kind of funny. If you look at their ads right now on CNBC, they have very similar theme. That's how much copycat they are. Yeah. So. But again, you are going to get very similar Salesforce experience at much cheaper price tag, I would say. So that's a plus for companies. Yeah. And that's why they appreciate it. So here we have healthcare. Healthcare is very customizable in general. The kind of ACM functionality that they are going to require, that's going to be fairly customizable. Finance, they have a lot of market share, not for profit. So these are some of the industries that they generally target. The comment related to ERP, I have already touched, so I don't have anything else to add there. Now, overall, in terms of the capabilities, so the buckets that we have from the ACM perspective, ATS, applicant tracking system, then your learning management system. So all of these are buckets of your ACM category. So you are going to find all of those inside Zoho. You are going to find fairly sophisticated functionality, even though the solution is primarily targeted for the smaller businesses, but the feature set is fairly complex to cover the needs of enterprise companies. So now going back to your comment, Andy, related to whether this is easy to use or not, some companies might find it easy to use, but when you are going to add all of those complex enterprise layers from the functionality perspective, from the data perspective, that's what adds the complexity. So easy to use is a very subjective term, depending upon where the user is coming from. If they are going to have a little bit of background in relational data modeling, they are probably going to appreciate this. But in general, this is as easy as it could get, I guess. You cannot make it simpler than this, unless you are sacrificing on some of the capabilities from the enterprise data modeling perspective. You have benefits, leaves, time in attendance, all of those layers are there. But again, the TNA, time and attendance that you have, that is not comparable to your WFM solution. WFM is positioned for your healthcare, retail. I don't know if this would be the right fit for that industry. It's not intended to be more of the WFM solution. And I don't think they even have the hardware offering, because in those industries, you are probably going to require the hardware offering as well. So it's not meant to be the WFM solution. Okay, so some more comments here. Overall, in this diagram, they have different buckets of the HCM. This is what we have been touching, during many different solutions. But again, I don't think you are going to have the WFM component here. This perspective is going to be more from the service center company perspective. So obviously, you are going to have all of those core HR capabilities, attendance, shift. Even though they have shift, but again, shifts would be used by many different industries. Sometimes even IT companies have shifts as well, depending upon what they are selling from the IT perspective. If they are going to be in very many services centered business or data center business, then they are going to have shifts as well. You have the leave management, timesheet, performance, learning management system, document management. We saw with Bamboo, I don't think other solutions had as rich document management capabilities. These guys are going to be fairly sophisticated there. They have case management as well. Case management, we have seen layers of that with many different solutions. So yeah, that's a very unique capability as well. But again, this is just the internal case management from the HR ticketing perspective, which is, again, in my mind, is a very enterprise-centered feature, because if you are going to have, I don't know, maybe 50 employees, you don't need tickets. you can simply email your HR. This would be when you have, let's say, 1,000 employees, and then maybe the HR department are roughly 50, and then you have the approval compliance process. Then this would be applicable. Obviously, Zoho has the other, the case management and the customer service component as well. So they will be able to integrate all of those. But again, the integration is not going to be as seamless, because again, these products have different databases, different customer model, etc. Survey is easy. At least they have the component, and in general, their workflow automation capabilities are fairly rich. So, and that's where the whole customization piece comes in. In general, in the ACM bucket, in the CRM bucket, you require far more customizable capabilities. Even in field service bucket, you require that, because again, you are dealing with many different devices. You are dealing with very ad hoc workflows. You need to do a lot of data capture, and that data capturing may change at any point of time. And again, these workflows are going to be very common in industries such as your not-for-profit, public sector, government, sometimes finance, banks. All of those are going to have all of those workflows. So they have some more very interesting features that we have noticed, and this is going to be internal service capabilities. And again, I don't know whether you guys have seen this before or not, but this is almost like you can build your service catalog internally, and you can have a little price, you can have the whole check-in checkout process. So it's a very interesting capability that I don't think I have seen in any other solutions so far, or the solutions that we have reviewed so far. And I don't necessarily have an answer for which industries are going to use this particular capability, but it seems very interesting, very unique. And this is going to be the examples of that is going to be, for example, they have given an example that book is a service that you are selling as a service internally. I believe, since this is part of your HCM offering, so you are creating book or library as a service, and then you are releasing it to your employees, and you might have a little approval process, I guess. So again, I don't know a scenario where I would see a use case for that, but very interesting capability. They have service owner, moving ad record. There's a lot of things that are there as part of this capability. Okay, so I'll keep moving unless you guys have any comments. Okay, so in my mind, the kind of workflows that they are able to do and the kind of workflow that they have, this is probably one of the neatest that I have seen. You are not going to find this neat workflow even within some of the no-code platforms, and that includes solutions that claim that they are highly customizable. They have very workflow capabilities. For example, solutions such as your HubSpot, they are probably not going to have this. But again, I'm comparing ACM with CRM here. But within ACM category, I don't know how many solutions are going to have this deep workflow automation capabilities. I would say even Microsoft, they might have much deeper capabilities technically from the Power Platform perspective. But again, it's not as well done. It's not as well designed the way this is designed. So this is beautiful. And this is going to be, and that's why if you look at industries such as your staffing, they are going to have a lot of these workflows, because staffing industry in general is very labor of love. That's how that industry is. And they have tons and tons of admin effort in getting the resumes, scanning those, and then doing a lot of work during the recruitment process. And that's why they require all of this. So I'm fairly impressed overall with their workflow automation capabilities. And that's where the whole customization piece comes in, even if their databases are not going to be connected. But if you're looking for best of breed solution, and if you're looking for slightly more customizable capabilities, this is probably the solution that you should be looking at. They also have some capabilities such as your delegations. And delegations, I think you would see in a lot of different industries, especially in educational settings, because you are going to have delegates that you are assigning responsibilities to. So this could be more from the approval perspective. It could be more from the doing a real job. But in this case, you are going to have just a project view of the job. It's not the real job. So that's the real difference between what you are going to see inside the HCM category versus what is going to reside inside your ERP category. So delegation is a very interesting functionality. Again, I don't think we have seen in any other solutions that we have reviewed so far. Then they have the employee and candidate onboarding, and they both have very different pipelines in the way they work. And they are going to have very different functionality in general that you are going to require, from the employee and candidate onboarding perspective. So again, this is a very interesting piece of functionality, and that's where I feel they are really rich in these capabilities that you will not find even with the mid-market solutions. They are not going to be as rich in general. The whole shift details. So you can do this in multiple time zones, and they have very deep capabilities. Functionally, they are going to be very rich, not from the data model perspective. If you're looking for that connectivity from the data model perspective, that's where their limitations are going to be. But if you're looking for just the plain vanilla functional capabilities, they are really deep and rich in that. And some of the things that we have seen, like leave types, I mean, the kind of settings that they have, that is just mind blowing. Just the leave type functionality could get very deep in terms of how you want to structure that. That could be, okay, minimum number of leaves that can be availed per application. Can you believe this? But again, these are more of the check boxes. So I don't think you are going to have as much flexibility in configuring these rules depending upon how sophisticated your rules are. But again, these things get very deep when you are going to have, let's say, 50 employees, 500 employees, and they are working across geographies. They all are going to have very, very, very different leave policies. Then you have things such as your maximum number of consecutive days of leave allowed. Again, very, 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 very deep functionality. Okay. The whole LMS piece is decent. It's really good the way this is structured. So you can do a lot more, from the performance management perspective, the whole LMS capabilities. I think you are going to feel as if this is very enterprise grade. That's how these capabilities are, including the performance measurement. So even though their target market is small, the capabilities are very rich and deep. One of the things that you are going to notice, especially in these smaller solutions, that you are going to have fairly limited number of reports, and then you are building those, and each report may take, generally building reports does not take as much time, but depending upon the complexity of those reports, each report may take 7 days to a month, from the development perspective. So that's a lot of money. And if you don't have those pre-built as part of the solution, then that could be an issue. So here with Zoho, you are going to find a lot of reports in general. Overall, if you look at their pricing, literally $1. Can you believe this? Literally $1.
Per month.
Exactly. That's cheap. That's cheap. Again, I mean, the kind of capabilities that they are able to provide in this kind of money, yeah, you cannot beat this. And if you look at just the essential itself, they have very rich capabilities overall. The difference between your essential and professional is you are going to have a little bit of biometric integration. You have people kiosk, so most likely they are probably going to have recommendation for hardware. I don't know if they sell hardware as well, but at least you have that. But for the most part, I mean, even the basic version is going to be fairly good in general for most companies. You have shift scheduling, but not everybody is going to need that. Shift rotation, not everybody is going to need that. IP and geo restrictions, it's a fancy feature. I don't know how many companies are going to need that. Overtime calculation could be a handy feature for several companies, depending upon how much overtime you need to pay as part of your compliance process. One comment I would make though is, even though you have very deep capabilities from the HCM perspective, their payroll capabilities are going to be fairly limited in general. Okay, they might have very rich payroll in a handful of countries. India, they are really good. UAE, they are probably good, but in other countries, they are probably not going to be as good. So you are definitely looking for a third-party payroll. Even if they are able to do things such as your overtime calculation, you are going to rely on a third-party payroll software if you are going to be in multiple countries. So that's something that you might want to note. Job scheduling, again, this job scheduling is very interesting as well. These are really very basic HR jobs. This is not meant to be the real manufacturing job or the jobs that you are going to find inside your ERPs. But when you read the term job scheduling, it might appear very similar. Okay, the intent here is very different. Time tracking, timesheet management is probably going to be easy, and that's why we saw these features with Bamboo HR as well. They were really deep in these capabilities. But again, when you get into the real compliance, that's where these solutions are going to be slightly weaker. Billing and invoicing, they have fairly sophisticated feature sets for the billing and invoicing as well. And again, if you're using Zoho Books, if you are a very small company, then you might use that. If you're a large company, obviously you're going to be on some sort of ERP, again, depending upon the industry. But if you are using Zoho Books, then billing and invoicing could be a great capability as well. That is fairly integrated between your HCM as well as your finance there. The whole performance piece is going to be slightly advanced, but I don't know how many companies are going to really utilize that, to be completely honest. To get to this level, you probably are going to be, I don't know, maybe 100 people, 200 people. When you are going to have a very serious HR function, then they are probably going to implement these things. With IT companies in general, or the software companies, marketing firms, they are probably going to worry about these a little bit more, just because they are a very people-centric organization. The talent is a big problem for them, so they implement these things a lot more, and that's why Zoho has all of these features. Again, some of the enterprise, and this is part of your enterprise bucket, which is coming for your $4, which is mind-blowing. Here you have the cases, SLA tracking. Again, I don't think a lot of small to mid-sized companies are probably going to require that. You have things such as your course feedback. If you are deep into that, for the most part, you are probably not going to require all of those. And then that can be integrated with your Zoho Recruit, Zoho Payroll, as they are labeling that this is only available for India and UAE. right now. So their payroll capabilities are fairly limited. Zoho Expense, Zoho Connect, Zoho Click, Vault. So they have a lot from the HCM perspective, but again, payroll compliance, you are probably going to require something else. Okay, so one of the things that is very interesting in these smaller solutions. Okay, so when you look at these apps, they are going to be fairly affordable in general, but when you are doing any sort of customizations, one of the capabilities that you are going to require is the environmental migrations. And even with some of very sophisticated tools, you don't have these capabilities built as part of the solution, and it becomes a nightmare when you have to transfer these customizations, and you are going to leave a lot of defects with your code, just because when you are going to be doing your manual migration, you don't know what you are going to leave. So it's a very challenging process in general, even with very mature SaaS platforms. Even today, we don't have those capabilities built as part of the solutions. So that's where I think Zoho is really sound. Technically, they have these capabilities built as part of their solution itself. So in that, you are going to find things such as you can copy the whole customization. You can copy a lot of different data sets and data model across different instances within Zoho when you are going from your staging to prod, or you are going from your India to UAE. And the reason why they have designed this is because the India instance and the UAE instance is probably going to be different, right? So they want to provide a very easy migration process. So let's say if you're sharing the customer between your India and UAE, you can probably transfer these settings fairly easily without duplicating the work. So in a sense, it is helping Zoho, but it is also going to help you when you are going to migrate these feature sets across environments. If you guys have any comment, I can take those, or I can keep going here.
I'm good.
Okay, I'll keep going then. Okay, so this is a case study. So this is what DLT Labs, and DLT Labs, they are saying a global leader in enterprise blockchain software. So this is a technology company. This is the right market segment for them. The business size is 500 plus. So again, our hypothesis was that, I mean, they are designed for slightly smaller companies, 500 employees, they have used it. So obviously this is a great validation that a lot of mid-market companies would be able to use this as well. Now, they are saying that 500 employees spread across India, Canada, and Japan. So this is spread in 3 countries. So one thing you will be able to guess is that they are not going to use the payroll function from Zoho. They are simply going to use the HCM module, because they are not going to have the Canada and Japan capabilities, I guess, from the payroll perspective. At least that's what we are gathering, from their documentation. So here they are saying DLT Labs was spending around 10 hours a week manually entering employee data and other HR information. So obviously that's a huge benefit, for the teams that might be on paper or on a spreadsheets. So here they are saying they have used this for a seamless performance management process. So they are using for the performance management process. And as we noticed during the capabilities review, that they have fairly sophisticated capabilities for those. They are saying through self-appraisals, and managers can give feedback ratings through manager and multi-rater reviews. Again, these things are only going to be applicable in certain industries, IT, tech, software, anywhere where you are going to require talent. These capabilities are probably going to be required, and that's why DLT Labs is an IT company. That's why they need this. I don't have anything else that I want to touch here. I'll keep moving. So now this is the story coming from SpiceJet, and SpiceJet is an airline company that would be, aviation. So in this particular case, the commentary that we have is they are saying the aviation industry requires extreme precision. And this is going to be with the time management, the way your time reporting is going to be. So this is very similar to the story that we saw with your UKG Pro as well as Ceridian in industries such as your sports franchises. You are going to have a lot of time precision requirement there as well, because resources are very expensive, and that's why sometimes they are going to be selling in the 15 minutes blocks or tracking in those 15 minutes blocks. So these guys probably have very similar problems as well, because those pilots that you are serving, they are fairly expensive as well. Now, we did not see sports franchises or a sports franchise logo as part of Zoho. So I don't know if they are being used in this industry, but this is a fairly similar need. And they are saying that we are able to enable our workforce spread across more than 30 locations. So my understanding is going to be that these locations are probably inside India. I don't know if these are going to be global locations, but they are able to manage that for the most part. Since Zoho is very Indian company, we are going to have far deeper capabilities in general for India, the localization capabilities, the compliance capabilities, GST, VAT, all of those capabilities are going to be built as part of Zoho platform, because Zoho is used a lot more in India than in other geographies. Then they are saying this sector houses a variety of workers, including ground staff, pilots, cabin crew, admin staff, coordinators, and what is that, more working at different levels and locations, making scheduling, attendance tracking, and HR management laborious and challenging. So now in their case, they are saying scheduling, but I don't know if they are really using this for scheduling, to be completely honest, because the scheduling in this particular case will be very complex. If you try to understand the aviation industry in general, that is very complex. If you look at the operational scheduling, when you have to schedule your passengers with your employee correlation plus your jets, I think that scheduling is going to be very different. So here, the only scheduling that you are probably looking at is your HR scheduling, and that they might be scheduled for jobs, but jobs are not going to have correlation with the actual operations. So I don't think they will be using it for the real scheduling, but they have made that comment here, which is very interesting. Then they are saying the degree of accuracy needed for the industry while calculating leave balances, and leave, they really have very sophisticated functionality. There is no question there. And attendance was higher, as the entire pay structure is dependent upon this. Then they are saying now employees will be able to track their working hours. Yeah, so they are tracking working hours. They are tracking leave balances, even apply for leave right from their mobile devices, making time and attendance tracking seamless for a dispersed workforce. But again, this is a very similar use case as your Bamboo HR, so I don't necessarily see much of a difference. And our assumption was that the whole WFM piece is not there with them. So I don't think they are doing the real scheduling. The only thing they are doing is just the time attendance, similar capabilities as you are going to find with Bamboo HR. Any comments, guys, by any chance?
Nope.
Okay. So some reviews here. So this is coming from 2024. And the profile that we have from the company perspective is they are roughly $250 million to $500 million USD, again, which is sizable organization in my mind, and they are being used there, which is mind blowing. So obviously they have been used in very enterprise centric companies, even though again the data model is going to be very disconnected in general. So this is used in finance and banking, and finance, the retail, sports, media franchises in general, they don't necessarily operate on a very connected data from the workflow or from the process perspective. So that's why in these industries, the best of breed architecture, you are going to find a lot more in general. And that's why a company as big as finance, that is $250 million in revenue, is able to use something like this. But again, if you call any of the banks, Andy, I don't know, or Sasta, if you have noticed this, if you call any banks across the world, okay, if you call the call center is not necessarily connected with their, branch. They just don't have any clue. They are going to send a bunch of instructions, and they have no clue, what is happening at the call center level. Sometimes they are going to book the appointment, but these guys are simply going to ignore that. I don't have any data. The reason why that is happening is because their systems are not necessarily connected. So in general, the finance, retail, these are very, very, very disconnected organizations from the operations perspective. In general, they don't try to connect at all the way they operate. Now, do you care for that customer experience? I don't know. If nobody's connected, so nobody's connecting. So here, and that's why they are able to use, something like Zoho in such large organization. So here they are saying organization, due to its large features and they are updating their features regularly. They are saying we have blue collar employees who are working in the field. So to manage the attendance part, Zoho People has features that you can set the location on premises from where you can mark your attendance. I think they are talking about the, what is that, point of service, I would say. Uh, that's where they are sort of marking the attendance, and that's why they are using the term on premises. But I don't think that is the right term. Not on premises. I think they are saying location or premises. They are using that, which is probably the right term. Yeah. But they are saying they are using this for blue collar employees, but they are in finance. So I don't know. I mean, finance does not have blue collar employees. That was my understanding, but maybe they do.
Well, I think they're probably talking about the remainder of the employees.
Yeah, I mean, some banks
Outside
have
of finance.
warehouses as well, and I don't know if they're using this inside the warehouse. That could be a possibility. So yeah, so it could be a very siloed installation. That's always a possibility. Okay, so here they are saying there is no revoke button if you have raised the wrong request for your attendance regularization. And regularization is a very interesting term that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. And a lot of people have used in this review. So which is very interesting, and that could be a very India-centric term.
Are they implying if an entry is made incorrectly, it's difficult or impossible to fix it?
Yes, so this is going to be your attendance compliance. That's so
Yeah.
regularization. I'm reading it as more of the compliance, right?
Yeah.
And then they are saying that you cannot revert it. You cannot do undo. Is what they are saying. Yes, right? Yes. Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So two comments there, I guess. So number one is going to be that now, Andy, going back to the whole data model argument, right? So
Yeah.
this is slightly more technical system, right? So that's why it is very layered the way it is designed. So that's why you are not going to see that, because it is going through a database, and database, unless you have those procedures built as part of your model, you are not going to have those in general. So that's why they are seeing all of these issues. So in general, I mean, these are very design constraints, I would say. The way this is done, and I don't know how easy it is for them to be able to implement this, but you are going to find these issues. In general, you are going to run into all of those batch scenarios, one-to-n scenarios. Zoho is probably not going to be as great at that, because again, their target market is very small companies. Any of the edits is where you are going to find a lot of limitations in a general. But Zoho is probably going to be better than the other platforms. The other platforms are going to have far more limitation, because at least they have these guys have the technical capabilities to be able to support that. Yeah, so there are some complaint about slightly more advanced feature from the exit interview perspective, but again, I think that's a slightly more advanced feature. So I don't know what is the expectation here in a dollar. Sorry.
Well, it's interesting that they're making these comments about what they dislike, and they're getting into fairly detailed or unique requirements or comments. Yet the overall user rating is 5 out of 5. So it's interesting.
They are being kind, obviously.
Yeah, I suppose so.
No, but I mean, I guess I only pay attention to these things. This is where you have the real intel. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So now this is media marketing, $50 million to $250 million USD. This is probably slightly better fit, I would say. So here, this is also coming from 2024, so which is fairly recent. So they are saying scheduling for both hourly and salaried employees, ensuring operational efficiency and regulatory adherence. This comprehensive approach caters to diverse organizational needs, fostering productivity and alignment compliance with labor laws and agreements. Now, for labor laws, obviously, you need to have that, and that's why this is part of your ECM bucket. And you are going to have the attendance, etc. That is going to be an input for your regulatory processes, and that's why they are looking at the whole hourly salaried employees compliance piece. So all of that you will be able to do. But again, I think operational efficiency is slightly it's a stretch even for media company, because your HR processes are not necessarily going to be connected with your project management processes. Even inside Zoho, these are two completely different apps. So you don't necessarily have connectivity between your project management jobs and then your ACM processes. You definitely don't have any connectivity with your accounting either. So this is going to be harder, I would say. It's not that easy, but at least they are able to do something there. Now, these guys are complaining UX navigation is not streamlined when compared to other Zoho apps. Mobile version has glitches and it occasionally crashes and disrupts user experience, which is a very interesting comment. This is coming in 2024. Now, UX navigation, the reason why they are finding it challenging is because this is slightly richer, I would say, in terms of capabilities. And when you are going to bloat all of these capabilities in a solution, obviously that becomes slightly harder. So this is probably I don't know, maybe CRM is used with very large companies as well. Zoho Books, definitely, they are not going to be used with very large enterprises. CRM and ACM, these two are used by very large enterprises. But again, you are trying to serve two completely different customer personas, and it's very, very, very hard to balance the needs of both. So that's why in my mind, I always say that, either you are an enterprise product or you are not an enterprise product. So this product in general is designed for very small companies, but seems like they don't like the UX navigation just because of that bloatedness. One more review here. Again, this is also mid-market. So I have personally not seen a lot of reviews where you have very small companies, I guess. So again, this is being used by very mid-market companies. So Andy, for your satisfaction, so you don't have 5-star in this one. So we have, they are talking about, okay. Once onboarded, Zoho was not smooth to operate. The multitude of functions did not talk well with each other, and the navigation was not user-friendly. After 2 months of usage, a lot of our teams stopped using the system. Now, they are in IT and services business, and in that, they are finding it tricky to use. So obviously, with the other industries where you are going to require the connectivity between those data sets and databases, you are probably going to find it challenging. And that's why these guys really struggled with that. So they are saying our business operations were not synced, okay? And customer information was not housed in one place. We could not track emails or documents sent to customers. Even these capabilities should be easier to manage, to be completely honest. Here we are not talking about finance. Once you get into the real accounting and finance scenarios, that's where you have a lot more complications in general, but they are not even able to do that kind of syncing. Also, customers were not linked to their invoices and subscriptions because these are completely disconnected apps. So these guys were thinking that there's probably going to be ERP.
They thought it was going to be an ERP.
Yeah, they bought it, but they didn't like it.
Yep.
So here they are saying Zoho enabled all these under one system, allowing us to sync and house all of our information, giving access to the necessary personnel. So again, you are living in one box, but that box is not ERP. Your expectation here was that you were buying an ERP. This is not meant to be an ERP. So note that if you're buying this for a bunch of apps in the best of breed setting, you don't necessarily care for that connectivity, then this is probably going to be okay. Okay, so now we have some more comments. So again, this is mid-market, guys. Like every single company is mid-market. Can you believe this? Like we have not seen a single small companies. So obviously this is used a lot by mid-market companies. So here, this is what? This is coming from 2023. And they are saying we can track our goal attendance, leave, salary slip, goal settings, chat with team members, birthday celebrations. Again, those things are easier in general. Sometimes its server is down, other than all okay. This is coming in 2023. Can you believe this? Okay, so server going down for SaaS? Seriously? But what do you expect in a dollar? So again, these data centers are managed by Zoho, so that's a big factor. They are hosting in their own data centers. So I don't like to see this personally. If you were on AWS, Azure, it's very rare that a system would go down, but I don't know. I mean, we are we as a company, Elevate IQ, we are using a lot of Zoho apps. We have never seen this. So, so I don't think it goes down, but it seems like people are seeing that.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, you could interpret what they're saying a number of different ways, though, too. Sometimes
No.
its server is down. Other than that, all okay.
How else would you interpret that, Andy?
Well, are they saying that Zoho's server is down?
That would be my understanding. Otherwise, what else could it be?
Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah,
when would Zoho's server be down?
Like the app is down?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they must have a warning for users, and that's how they know that probably server is down.
I guess so.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a serious issue from the infrastructure perspective. But again, what do you expect in a dollar? Simple. Mid-market, 51 to 1,000 employees, 2023 as well. Easy HR management, user-friendly interface, so they seem to like it. Integration with other Zoho products, customization options. Integrating with non-Zoho products is challenging, and yes, that is going to be a risk. So with the other HCM systems, you are going to find far more marketplace options. Here, Zoho is going to make it easier to use their own apps, even though in their marketing materials, they commercialize this as you can use whichever app you want, as long as you have money to be able to integrate. Okay, so you are not going to have as much pre-baked integration, so you are going to be investing a lot with those custom integration. Okay, now depending upon where you want to spend. So if you are okay with that, if you're using everything from Zoho, this is probably going to be a great fit. But if you have a lot of integrations that you are trying to bring in with Zoho, that's probably not a very smart idea. Okay, we'll go for one more review and then we can probably open up for the comments. So this is a small business, finally, one, okay, 50 or fewer employees, 2023. And they are saying, I didn't like Zoho projects as it has many bugs and not having basic functionalities, not clear about a product roadmap, unlike ClickUp. And ClickUp is another project management solution. So I don't know why they have commented, about the project here. Maybe they are using this for the project as well. But again, this is supposed to be more of the HCM category. Project is separate app. So obviously, the conclusion that you can draw here is these things are not connected. So if you're looking for very connected experience, HCM plus project management, you're probably not going to get that. All right, so that's it. I'll open for comments.
Well, we mentioned this from the beginning. The Zoho product is very affordable. I mean, $1 to what, $9 per person per year. It's almost free. I've used Zoho for quite a while on the CRM side, and it's always been fairly stable and fairly solid. So, as far as a competitively priced product, I think it's exceptional.
Yeah.
The complaints that we're reading, obviously everybody's opinions is relative to what their previous experience were, and who knows what systems they've used previously. I did find it interesting that you thought that Zoho was mimicking Salesforce in a much smaller scale, maybe. Okay, that's what I thought you meant. Okay, because it's not really in the same. I mean, Salesforce is pretty huge. As far as a product, I mean.
But they have fairly large logos as well as we have
logos, but I mean, as far as product, as far as capabilities.
CRM product is fairly comparable, I would say.
You think so, eh?
Yeah. It's fairly comparable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sasha, do you have comments?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Andy said right now. And even though they have some unique and rich HCM functionalities, and as you said, it's quite affordable in the SMB space, and also, in the mid-market space also many companies are using it. But also after reading the reviews, I feel like many companies are having a confusion on what they want and what the solution can actually provide. Like we read about they were comparing it with the project management, and they wanted something that an ERP can do. So I think that's where the boundary is, where people are not, they don't have a clear idea of what they want and what the solution can do. Yeah.
That's how most software users are.
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone has expectations when they buy these things. They drank the Kool-Aid during the sales demos, right? They thought it does everything. And then, of course, they find the truth 6 months later, and then they're complaining on these message boards. So
Awesome, guys. Any more comments? Okay, if we don't have anything, that's a wrap. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Today we met on Wednesday, but next week we are going to come back, on Tuesdays. So make sure you guys are going to be there. We are going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.